Italy, Mexico. Two culinary powerhouses brought together by one, sexy accents, two, flamboyant and charismatic men, and three, the awesome power of wonderful spiced meat arranged in a pan. The Mexicans have their enchiladas, the Italians have their lasagnas, and failing at picking the winning side in wars at the beginning. And they combine these two ideas to make an enchilasagna, which is exactly what it sounds like. I'm Nick Pierce, Zach's holding the camera. Roll those credits. So, to start out with your lasagna, I actually did not look up how to make either enchiladas or lasagnas for this. So we're just going to go with what I got kicking around up in here. We're not doomed, Zach. First things first, bottom of lasagna is the noodle sheet. So we're going to switch out tortilla skins for that. So I'm going to take my pan, heavily spray it down, and then we're going to add these right along the middle. We have a little bit of overlap right here. That'll help it make sure that, actually I'm going to cut these. That'll help it make sure that there is a little bit of overlap, but it doesn't get too thick on the bottom. So there's not just like a dry mess of tortilla when you take one of the bites. This is also very similar to the method I've heard people use for slicing up sandwiches. If you have like slices of meat, like in rounds, like bologna, you're supposed to slice a certain way to make sure that they fit on the bread. So like if I have a rectangular bread slice, like right here, this is a detour, but screw it, it's important. Then supposed to put it like this, with then your second slice in the center. So if you only have two slices, it covers more area on the bread. So with this, you can more economically use your space and get a little bit of overlap and have less dead zone. Yeah, so that's the first step. Then I'm going to take a layer of spiced pork that I've thrown enchilada sauce in, and then a couple of seasonings. We're gonna go to my Enchilasagna enchilocker right here for those seasonings. And then so I added a little bit of Dick Project sweet chili seasoning. It's zesty. And then a little bit of Tony's Creole seasoning. Added that to it, along with some ground cumin, onion powder, and garlic powder. So what I'm going to do now is evenly arrange that across the top and then spread it out so it's a nice thick layer, and then the meat, which I've sliced into flats, can lie flat. You're going to want to get all the juice out into this because this is something where you're going to want to make sure it doesn't retain too much moisture inside while it's cooking, otherwise it won't hold its form. Nice, and spread it out. And if you're thinking it looks like dog food, you are correct, because it essentially is. Dogs eat anything, and then pork and gravy is a pretty big chunk of dog meat stuff. This would be great if we had a sponsor from like a dog meat company and be like, not that Blue Buffalo Diamond dog food stuff, my dogs love it, but I, one, don't have a sponsor, two, don't have a dog, and three, I'm not going to sell out for my principles, unless someone offers me a lot of money. I'm really iconoclast that way. Make sure you fill in the holes so it's nice and even, and then try and get the flats lined down so you cover up as much area as possible. You don't want it to be too thick because it's got to go 4 layers up. That's the arbitrary line that I've decided that lasagna has to have to be properly thick with 2 C's. I used to be thick with 2 C's and a Q, and then I started going on long walks and that really helped out. Big fan. Alright, next we're going to do the same thing with a layer on top of that. So we're going to start out with line down the middle, a little bit of overlap there. And then I'm going to use these half moon crescents that I cut out to keep proper over the sides. And then these little bits here will help keep it in line. There's going to be enough moisture on both sides and cooking it down together so that if it's lying uneven like this, that's not a big problem. Don't worry about that. So for the next one, I'm going to add some peppers that I sauteed in the fat of the pork that I just put down. I've got 3 different types of peppers. You can tell one's a jalapeno, these are some poblanos, And then these ones are some Anaheims. You can see there's 3 different types of green on there. All of those are great peppers for both cooking or stuffing, but when you saute them together, you get a nice, honestly, peppery kind of flavor. And then with the pork that I've added to it, it means it's not only greasy enough to cook with, but you can then add it to a pork dish. Just kind of gently sprinkle it over the top. You're going to want to make sure these are sauteed beforehand to the point where the sizzle starts to end, because peppers retain a lot of water. That's the majority of what they actually are. And otherwise you're going to have yourself a big soggy mess when you try and eat your enchilasagna later. This is the second time I've made it and the first time in about 5 years, so we're just going to figure out, well, as we go along. It's also the first time I've made this sober, so just a day of learning experiences. Once that's evenly spread out on top, we're going to take out some onions that I have sliced and then air crisped. That also helps get the moisture out because onions are very high in moisture as well. And we're just going to put a square down pretty much along a grid pattern, sort of like how you would slice your enchilasagna. Perfect. And then from there, we go again. Break those into the sides. Cover it along the edges. Slide that bit into there. And then go back to my tortilla pile to cut more skins to size. Which is also what Hannibal Lecter says when he's cooking. That's one of the few differences between myself and, or the few similarities between myself and Hannibal Lecter. I love having people for dinner, but not in that way. How about you, Zach? You ever eat the sweet, sweet meat of a man before?
Not yet.
If one of us is in an accident, we actually have a pact that we will try and save the meat and do a bon appetit where, like, we eat my own foot or something. So pray that I'm in a non-fatal motorcycle accident. I have a love-hate relationship with beans. One time, I was seeing the movie Cars 2 in theaters by myself, and I brought along a can of these beans for a snack, and some teenagers saw me and screamed out, "This person is eating beans," and they laughed at me. I'd never been so embarrassed, and apparently a post of it went semi-viral, so we've definitely had our differences. But you're going to want to take those and then just gently put a big spoonful on each one. Try and get bean heavy, not too much of the gravy side. So keep it moist, but not too wet for our intended purposes. Fill in each pattern. And then you're going to want to just start spreading them around so you have like a nice even layer. Keep it nice and covered. Not super elegant, but I mean, it's close enough for government work. So then we're going to take the remaining onion pieces that I have, pop the rings out of them, and then we're just going to start throwing those around at the top so they can cook on. I'll leave them a couple rings deep so they won't fully burn through. You can put them in the pattern if you want. Like, for instance, in this moment of cultural unity between foods, I could do Olympic rings. But seeing as the Olympics are currently canceled and probably will be canceled again due to the COVID crisis, that seems a bit in poor taste. Although, honestly, I'm not that upset the Olympics are canceled. It's just rich kids doing sliding on ice. Wait, that's the Winter Olympics.
It's the Winter Olympics.
Are the Winter Olympics coming up?
2022, I think.
Oh, we'll probably still have COVID by then, honestly. The response is a shit show. Perfect. So once you have that left up, you're then going to want to get your nice bag of shredded cheese that has been greatly depleted because you keep eating from it at 2 a.m. when you're hungry. You know,
Hy-Vee sells a really big, like, 4-pound bag for like $7.
Oh, that's gonna be a fucking problem for me. I'm gonna gain 10 pounds for the next video, and Zach Lawson is to blame. Gently move your shredded cheese all around the top so it gets nice and melty. And then once you have that, we're gonna have some green onions that I've chopped up in reserve. But then I'm gonna go ahead and put a big E on it for enchilasagna. Maybe. It's not gonna be the best E. I'm gonna give this E a C for effort. But you can tell it's supposed to be an E. Or a 3. On like a digital clock. Alright, you take your pot holders, and then you firmly grasp it. Open up your oven, which you have preheated to 400. You ignore the ribs that we have for the mini show we're shooting right now. And then you're just gonna gently slide that in. And then you're gonna shut the oven up. Now, it's very important that you realize everything I'm putting in that enchilasagna has already been cooked. So you could eat it raw, you shouldn't, that would be a dumbass move. But you can eat it pretty much right away. So what we're doing is just melting it all together so it'll formally like blend and crisp. I should have really thought about this. Oh, got one. So there'll be the delicate dance of all the flavors entertaining each other. Sort of like a lively samba in a tango, fusing together in one sort of Latin sort of flavor of sexiness. Right? Cut now. All right, so it's been about 10 minutes. Let's see how these look. Wonderful sound of all that pork cooking right there. And then on top, we can see that the onions, everything is sort of solidified, so it's nice and gooey. You have a nice give to it, while still being kind of hard on top. And if we zoom in on the side layers down here, we can see we got the layer of pork, the layer of peppers, the layer of beans, all on the top, and it doesn't seem like they've sort of moved around too much, which is good. It means I stacked them properly. We're gonna let this sit for a couple of minutes, and I'm gonna cut off a slice and then do a 360-degree shot of it. Where Zack is. All right, so we're gonna slice this open. What I like to do first is just see if you can just spatula it straight through. Looks like you pretty much can. And dig that in there just to make sure that it's fully through. Then we're gonna spatula this again. Not right through the onion rings. Ow! Oh, yes. Yas, king. And then we're just gonna, hold on a second. Fuck! And there you have it, folks. That's, God damn it. All right, we're gonna try this again in just a second. That's gonna be mine, Zach. I'm gonna dig yours out in a second. All right, that's the first attempt. Cut. All right, attempt number 2. I think because we'll have more leverage to get in under the bottom layer this way. And then slice all the way through that. All the way through that, and then get under that bottom layer. Here we go. Boom, boom, shaboom. Chicka, chicka, boom, boom. Just like that alphabet book. Classic. Anyways, so here you have it. A nice 4-layer pork, pepper, bean, and cheesy onion enchilasagna. Truly a fusion of Mexico and Italy. Now, as I say in an offensive accent that is Italian because the Mexican one would be very racist, buon appetit! Hey!